and welcome to the Asset Preservation Hour. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Willis. He is President of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. Stewart, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you because I know that you've been so extremely busy. Obviously, people have so many questions about different things around retirement planning, if you will. What types of questions are you hearing in the office right now?
Well, I think the one thing that we're hearing is, obviously people are concerned about inflation. They're concerned about taxes, which is one of the main things we talk about. I think it's really important, for people to know that they have a resource they can go to that has answers to, not just questions about their investments, but about taxes and estate planning and so forth. And I think that that's really what separates us from, the rest of our competition, so to speak, is that, we take a look at everything. We try to leave no stone unturned.
Because I know you're so passionate about planning for retirement, Stewart, and obviously, like you just mentioned, taxes play a huge part of that as well. Why should people be thinking about taxes as they're entering retirement?
Yeah, so, listen, if you take retirement seriously and you've done your job, you've put $100,000 away or $10 million away, in your retirement plans over this year. So it's really, really important to make sure you have a plan, to make sure you know it's going to last your entire lifetime. Because, one of the worst things we can see is to basically put all this money away and never actually get to enjoy it. And a lot of people don't get to enjoy it because they're so worried about running out that they never, take those trips or buy those cars or visit their kids or, the things that would really, truly make them happy during their lifestyle. So I think it's really important to make sure that they have a plan.
Absolutely. Well, I should actually also ask you, Stewart, obviously the face of retirement has changed. People used to have pensions to rely on, but that's no longer the case.
Yeah, thank goodness, locally here, a lot of our clients have, parts of their pensions here, but we're seeing them phase out. Some of our clients, there's some great local companies here like Boeing and Honeywell that still have these, great pension plans and some of them are phasing them out. But we see tons of differences between these plans here. There's no universal answer to what the right decision is when it comes to your pension. A lot of our clients will come in and say, hey, should I take a lump sum or should I take it, take the annuity over time? Because people hear the word annuity and think of it as a bad word, and some annuities are bad. But sometimes with your pension, it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. It's really important to understand whether or not, it makes sense in your case. For example, I have clients that work at Honeywell, and depending on which, originating company you work for, whether it was like Allied Signal or one of the other companies, your pensions could be drastically different. So a lot of times when people are listening to their friends at the water cooler, they're saying, oh, no, you need to take it at 62. Well, there's some pensions there that if you delay till 66, they continue to grow even after you've retired. So does it make sense? In certain circumstances, it does. For example, people say, well, why would I delay? I don't know if I don't take it now, I'm never going to get it. Or, well, one thing we can do is between the ages of 62, like let's say you decide to retire at 59. Well, we have time now to start doing some real planning, some tax planning, right? If you delay your pension, for example, from 62 to 66, that gives us 4 additional years of lower income to really create an efficient plan. Everybody's situation is different. I think it's just really important to make sure you have a plan, that you have a process that makes sense.
Absolutely. Stuart, I have to ask you, so obviously pensions going away for a lot of people. Some people have their 401k, of course. When you're entering into the retirement years, you're basically responsible for creating a paycheck for yourself. What kind of guidance do you give your clients when it's coming to that?
Yeah, what we're seeing a lot of times is people are pulling from their cash. They're saying, okay, we're going to leave our IRAs until later. And, their thought is, hey, I'll wait for lower taxes now. I'll see a couple, for example, and they're just draining their cash. Well, what you don't want to do is make sure that you run out of cash and every dollar you take has to come out of an IRA, because what happens is people end up not using their IRAs. They die with millions of dollars in IRAs because they've put all this money away, tax deferred, etc. And now they've created this big tax time bomb that they're so afraid to use, because when you pull from your 401ks or your IRAs or your pensions, that makes your Social Security taxable. Now, people start realizing, and it's kind of the beauty and the curse of our business, is that we try to inform each and every client of what their options are. And, if we end up not being a good fit or not doing business together, what ends up happening is that they have a tidbit of it, but then they try to apply it on their own. And, they die with all this money off to the side, never getting to enjoy it because, they're so worried about paying a tax bill. And I would just say this, as a consumer, as an investor, you need to prioritize. What is your whole purpose for your money? This should be your homework today. What is your why? Is this money to have the best possible retirement ever and spend every darn nickel of it and just, die broke and have a great time in the process? Or is it to, start eating dog food to make sure you can save all your money for your kids and never spent a cent? Or is it somewhere in between? Usually it's somewhere in between, right? But figure out your why. Why did I do this? Why am I doing this? What is my ideal life from here till the end? Because listen, I think, COVID is a serious thing. It's taken, several of my really dear clients and dear friends. And it's really, shown our mortality. A lot of people that I thought were going to be with us a lot longer, are gone. But, that happens with other things as well. I would just say this. We tell our clients it's either time to start, it's time to start get busy living or get busy dying. And you've got to enjoy yourself in retirement.
I should ask you, Stewart, how long does it take for you to put a plan in place for your clients when they come in and sit with you for the first time?
Everybody's situation is different, but what we like to do is really do an in-depth cash flow analysis to look at their tax situation. Listen, our tax office isn't just about tax preparation, it's about tax planning. And a lot of our clients have been with their same tax people for years, and they love them, and they're not going to go anywhere, and they think they're going to hurt our feelings. We don't mind at all. If you have a tax person you love and you want to stick with them, great. We're more than happy to work with them on our team here. We just like to have communication to make sure that we're all on the same page. But the plan is different for everybody. There is no cookie cutter approach. A lot of times when you visit, if you go to some of these seminars, for example, all they're trying to do is sell you a specific insurance product, or they're trying to sell you long-term care. We are product agnostic in that sense. It's not about a specific product, it's about a plan. It's about making sure that you're dealing with a fiduciary that works in your best interest, not just in their own.
Well, Stewart, I know that you have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we open the phone lines.
Sure. What we're offering the audience today is a complimentary portfolio review. And in that complimentary portfolio review, what we're offering to look at is any expenses, any fees, any risks, and are you in a fiduciary relationship with your advisor? Because listen, they may be great people. They may be very nice. They may be very successful. But are they doing what's in your best interest? We'll give you our second opinion, but you have to take action today and give us a call. Or you can just click on that little QR code on your screen right there. If you click on that QR code like you do in those restaurants, right? We're all used to those menuless restaurants now. Just click on that QR code. Click on the complimentary portfolio review. We'll give you our second opinion, let you know what we think. But you have to take action today. We'd be glad to help.
Stewart, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-652-7829. We have to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk to Stewart about what you should be looking for when choosing a financial advisor. Stay tuned.
What happens oftentimes is we'll run into clients or potential clients that have saved all this money, but they're 75, 80 years old. They've got this big pile of money, but they're not enjoying retirement because they're so worried about running out of money that they never actually get to enjoy their life's work. And so to me, it's really rewarding to be able to create a plan so that these people can have a great time in retirement, knowing that they're not going to run out, that they're going to be fine. I think it brings a smile to their face.
We get a lot of different people at a lot of different stages in their lives. And what we're able to do is, for some folks, it's able to tell them that you're on track. Keep doing what you're doing, and 15 years from now, you'll be retired and enjoying life the way you want it to be. For some people, it's people coming in and they're 3 to 5 years away from retirement, and you're able to tell them that, you know what, 5 years, 3 years, tomorrow, you're ready to go.
We are a complete shop. We handle estate planning, taxes, financial planning. We do a really in-depth cash flow analysis that is way more detailed than you'll see in the market.
Everything all in one spot, with the left hand always knowing what the right hand's doing. Because it's not just about the investments, but how's that going to affect your taxes. It's not where are you going to be 5 years from now, 15 years from now. And it's that back and forth full view of what the clients, not only today, but tomorrow and their legacy down the road is going to be, that really sets us apart.
And welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Willis. He is president of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. Stewart, a great show that we're having, obviously talking about such an important topic, planning for retirement. But a lot of people in the viewing audience, they may be wondering right now what they should be looking for when they're choosing a financial advisor. What advice do you have for them?
Well, Cynthia, what I would say, I think there's one thing that's most important above everything else, that you're dealing with a fiduciary. Mm-hmm. We hear that word, bandied about quite a bit, but a fiduciary is probably the most important thing. And a lot of people say, well, what's a fiduciary? I think we dealt with them when my mom passed away and they handled the estate. It's different. What a fiduciary is in the context of a financial advisor is somebody who works for you. Now, a lot of these big box firms have what we call broker-dealer relationships. They are your broker. They can be your advisor, but they may not be actual fiduciaries. Now, we've seen a lot of them switch to what we call assets under management, AUM, fee only, but that doesn't necessarily make them a fiduciary because they still get paid by the brokerage receiving funds from funds. So here's what I mean. So our license is a Series 65 investment advisor representative license. Now what that license allows us to do is give you financial advice for a fee. Surprise, surprise, nothing is free in this life, right? If you're a financial advisor and you have a relationship and you don't know what you're paying in fees, well, guess what? That should be a big red flag. As good of a relationship as you may have, they are getting paid to manage your assets. And if you don't know what they're getting paid, you need to find out. And one way you can do that is with those portfolio analysis that we offered earlier today. But number one, make sure you're dealing with a fiduciary. We're not allowed to receive any sort of backdoor commissions or fees from any securities companies. We don't get paid by any of them. We get paid by the fees that we charge our clients. When we do better, you do as well. So it's really important to make sure that everybody is in a beneficial relationship. Number two, you want to make sure you're dealing with an independent advisor. If you're at some of these big box firms, you have to do everything through their custodian. Well, what we have is access to multiple custodians. Whether it's TD Ameritrade or Fidelity and Charles Schwab, we have access to them. TD Ameritrade and Schwab are just going through a merger. They're great companies, but we can custodian at either of those companies there. So it's really important to be independent so you don't have any sort of real pressure to sell a specific fund or a specific money manager or anything like that. The other thing I would say is to make sure you're dealing with what we call holistic financial planners. And what a holistic financial planner is someone that looks at everything. And at Asset Preservation, I think that's really what makes us unique here, is that not only do we give financial advice, investment advice, but we also take a look at taxes. Our tax office is a complete nightmare during tax office in terms of an operation here. We're going to do 800 tax returns or so again this year. It is a lot of work. But the reason for that tax office is to make sure that we can take a look at your entire tax situation. Now, a lot of people have started to copy the message of tax advice, but they don't have a tax office. They don't have a CPA or an enrolled agent on staff. I think that's a big thing to make sure that they do, that they don't have access to a referral network, but they have one on staff year-round. That's super important. The next thing is, are they specialists in retirement, right? This is all about your retirement. So are they specialists in retirement? Do they know how to plan out your income for the rest of your life? Do they know how to create those efficiencies? I think that's another thing. Do they understand your insurance needs? Insurance is a really important thing too, because as interest rates start rising, there may be certain insurance positions that make sense to have as kind of a bond alternative. It's worth looking. If you're concerned about rising interest rates and bond values dropping, well, there's some choices there. And then last but not least, estate planning. So, our firm was founded in 1997 as an estate planning firm that provided estate plans and revocable living trusts to people that weren't named Rockefeller, right? To the common Joe, And so if what an estate plan does is it includes your wills. It includes your power of attorneys for healthcare, power of attorney for finances, your living trusts. And that's super important to have in a lot of situations. And a lot of people, what they've done is they said, okay, well, we're going to go do it online, or we're going to have some legal document preparer do that. And you know what? There are some great legal document preparers out there, but we've made a tactical decision to stay with the same attorney we've had for 15 years doing our estate planning documents, because we want to make sure that each and every one of our clients that we do living trusts for, speak to a real attorney, not to someone who, took an hour-long test to get, certified. We want, I'm serious, like, it's crazy. Like, some of these documents are horrendous that I see out there.
Wow.
And our attorneys just shake their head at it. Arizona's a little more lax about that, but places like California, the attorneys really fight for their protecting their space. So a lot of these places here that I call living trust mills are just there. They're not there to sell you a trust. They're there to get access to your financial information and sell you expensive commissionable products. And it's just, you just have to be wary of that stuff. So if you have concerns about your trust, I would always touch base with us. We only do our estate planning and our taxes now for our financial clients. So we really want to focus, on those people that have focused on us.
Sure. Well, Stewart, I also have to ask you, obviously, you're very passionate about your concierge services. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because during COVID, a lot of financial advisors have had a really tough time. They've done all of these seminars and so forth. And we've gone through a little bit of growing pains where we kind of saw the opposite. Since our TV show has been on the air for the last 2 years, our company has grown, tremendously. But what's really important to myself and to, our other founder is we always wanted to carry the vision that, we had a personal relationship. Judd, my co-founder, basically used to say, we don't want to have a shallow relationship with 10,000 people. We want a deep relationship with 1,000. Yeah. And I'm trying to hold true to that today. I think it's really important to make sure that, the relationships matter. I tell people all the time, it's easy for me to work 6-7 days a week because I surround myself with people I like. And I always tell people, if you don't like me on TV, do not call, because I'm the same exact person in person. Yeah. So maybe that's why the phones aren't ringing for me. I don't know. But listen, it's important to have, people that you enjoy being around. And it makes our concierge service so easy because we like to have these events at our different offices, whether it's in Scottsdale or Tempe or in our, home office with the West Valley. It's really important to have this concierge service where, we can place a face with a name. You aren't just some, list. You're not just a person with an account number. A lot of our clients that we found have, seen these commercials of these kind of fast-talking guys in seminars or in, even online where, they've never actually met with their advisors. Everything's online. And I can tell you this, that's not for us. We want to be able to see you, talk to you, make sure that we bond, have this human touch to be able to get to know each other, because we don't see a lot of clients come and go. We figure that out up front, whether we're the right people for each other.
Sure.
So it's best to figure it out now.
Well, Stewart, let's go ahead and reopen the phone lines. Do you think it's a great time?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you can do today is take advantage of our complimentary portfolio review. What you have to do to get that done is click on that QR code right on your screen right there. It'll take you to apsitaxes.com. Click on the complimentary portfolio review, or you can just give us a call at 833-652-7829. If you've been watching the show for a while and you wondered if we're the right fit, give us a try. We'll tell you. If we don't think it's a good fit, we'll let you know. If you don't think it's a good fit for us, I'll blame you, Cynthia. But
don't blame me.
But all you have to do is give us a call at 833-652-7829. No matter what time of day or night it is, we have operators standing by to take your call. But you have to take action today and give us a call, because if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. So take action.
Stewart, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-652-7829. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We're going to talk more about tax planning versus tax preparation when we return.
This is the story of how you get from here to there. Right now you're here, but in the future, you want to be there. And from here, there looks pretty good. But so few get to there. Why? Well, of those who do make it, some will have luck, but most will have a strategy. They will save and invest, grow and protect, and they will work with advisors who will help guide their way. If you're looking to get somewhere, to get there, we know how to set a course. It's what we do, and we do it well. We're investment specialists, retirement advisors, insurance experts, and financial planners. We have innovative wealth tracking tools to monitor your progress every step of the way. Wherever you are now, we can help you get to where you want to be. The road between here to there is shorter for those who know the way.
And welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Willis. Stewart is the president of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. Stewart, a great show we're having today, obviously, every time we're in the studio together. But I want to ask you a very important question. A lot of people in the audience right now might be thinking, what's the difference between tax preparation and tax planning? Can you help us understand?
Sure. Yeah. Tax preparation is simply just the filing of your taxes. It's what you do before April 15th. You go in, you meet with your tax person. You hand them a couple W-2s and 1099s, maybe a K-1 or two, any sort of, property issues you have, and they prepare all the documents for you to file for taxes. That's tax preparation. Now, tax planning is actually creating a more efficient structure, for the person. And generally, it's really important to look at all of those things. Like, are there any capital gains that you can harvest? Any capital losses that you can harvest as well? Are there any carry forward capital losses that we can take advantage of when we take a look at your strategy? Maybe it makes sense to do a Roth conversion. Maybe it doesn't. Everybody's situation's different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people obviously are very curious, because obviously you run the tax office, but how much planning can really get done, Stewart, during tax season? I have to ask you that.
Oh man, it's interesting because, listen, these people are angels, these tax preparers. They work their tails off for 3 months here, working 10, 12, 15 hours a day. They are just burning the midnight oil, so to speak, and they're wonderful. But listen, if you're trying to create a financial plan while that person's working 15-hour days and just a zombie struggling to get by, you're making a huge, huge mistake. Tax planning can never be properly done during tax season. It always has to be done either immediately following or at the end of the year or somewhere in between there. You want a fresh set of eyes taking a look at your situation. And now listen, I think tax preparation, the reason we have a tax office is, number one, once we do taxes for our financial clients, now we have all their information in our tax software. It makes it way, way easier to do projections. Here's how that works, Cynthia. So let's say somebody has $50,000 of Social Security income, $10,000 pension, has $1 million IRA, and they're just wondering, hey, Stewart, you've been talking about this Roth conversion for years now. We know it's the right thing. We just don't know how much to do. Well, when the client's information is all in our tax software, we can create these scenarios. That's why we have enrolled agents and CPAs available to us year-round in the office that we say, hey, model out, the top of this bracket, that bracket, 22, 24, 32, 35, 37, whatever, and let's take a look at what it looks like. And I just remember this one case. Our biggest client is this phenomenal man, love him to death, great guy. But when he came in here to asset preservation for the first time ever, we took care of his sister for years. He gave us a chance, and he was selling a $7.5 million property in Washington State. And when he sold it, he was looking at what to do with his money. Well, when we told him, hey, he's got $2 million of IRA, and we think you need to convert that to Roth, he went back to a CPA, and his CPA said, these guys are morons. Never talk to these guys again. They're idiots. What he didn't know is the cash flow work we did. So we gave him our work, and he looked at it, and he called me personally. He said, Stewart, I'm so sorry, man. I never thought about it, because all of a sudden this property, remember I was talking about depreciation and all of the efficiencies of owning real estate in previous episodes. All of this money that he had in this property, he now had to pay tax on from capital gains and dividends. We were creating this efficient, lifelong situation where he was going to save over $2 million in taxes over his lifetime. So it's not just about today. It's about preparing for years and years and years down the road for yourself and for generations to come. That's why tax planning is so important. As big of a nightmare as it is, it's a super important part of a plan. But honestly, you need to take action. If you want to have a financial plan that includes tax planning, take action today. Give us a call at 833-652-7829, or click on that QR code that's right there on your screen today. Take action. If you aren't getting tax planning from your financial advisor, then you deserve better. Give us a call. We'd be glad to help.
Stewart, thank you so much for another amazing episode this week. To the viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. The number to call is 833-652-7829. Any questions for Stewart about retirement planning, tax planning, he has the answers for you. Again, thank you for watching. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. The number again is 833-652-7829. We'll see you back 1 week from today.